Let me start with something that sounds unfair. You can be extremely logical and still make consistently bad decisions. Not because you're unintelligent, but because logic and rationality are not the same thing. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Logic works inside the assumptions you accept. Rationality questions the assumptions themselves, and most people, especially smart people, fall in love with their assumptions. Let's break this down carefully. Logic is structured thinking. If A is true and B follows from A, then C must follow. That's clean, linear, elegant. It feels powerful. But logic has a blind spot. It never asks whether A should have been accepted in the first place. It simply builds on it. Now watch how this plays out in real life. You think, if I work harder than everyone else, I'll win. That's logical. Effort to skill to output to reward. Clean chain. But what if the system rewards visibility more than effort? The timing is wrong. The incentives favor politics over performance. The market doesn't value what you're producing. Your reasoning was solid. Your starting premise was flawed. And logic doesn't protect you from flawed premises. It just builds a stronger mistake. Intelligent people often trust their reasoning ability, and that's where danger begins. Because intelligence strengthens logic, it does not automatically strengthen humility. The smarter you are, the better you can defend your model. You can explain away red flags, reinterpret contradictory data, construct sophisticated justifications. You can make your argument sound airtight. And the more articulate you are, the harder it becomes for others to challenge you. That's how smart people trap themselves. They don't lack logic. They lack flexibility. Here's the deeper distinction. Logic likes certainty. It wants conclusions. This makes sense. This follows. This is correct. Rationality lives in probability. It asks, how likely is this? What are the odds I'm wrong? What's the downside if this fails? What variables are outside my control? Logic builds straight lines. Rationality prepares for chaos. And life is chaotic. Markets change. People change. Information changes. Incentives shift. If your thinking doesn't account for uncertainty, your logic becomes brittle, and brittle systems collapse under pressure. Logical people often operate inside a fixed frame. They say, given these facts, this makes sense. Rational people ask, are these the right facts? What am I ignoring? What assumptions am I unconsciously protecting? This is harder, because questioning your framework means admitting you might be fundamentally wrong, and that's threatening. So most people prefer refining logic over re-examining foundations. It feels productive, it feels smart, but it keeps them trapped. Here's another subtle trap. Logic helps you win arguments. Rationality helps you win outcomes. Those are different games. You can logically defeat someone in a debate and still make a terrible decision in reality. Because reality doesn't reward rhetorical structure. It rewards adaptation. Logical people often chase internal consistency. Rational people chase external results. That's why two logical individuals can argue opposite sides convincingly, both structured, both coherent, but only one may be rational because only one evaluated incentives, probabilities, and risk correctly. Think about a time you defended a decision step by step. You had reasons. You had analysis, you had explanations, and later reality disagreed. The issue wasn't your reasoning process, it was what you assumed about timing, other people's incentives, future conditions, your own biases. You reasoned well, inside the wrong model. That's the difference. Logic feels strong, rationality feels uncertain. Logic says, this makes sense. Rationality says, I could be wrong. Logic ends the conversation. Rationality keeps it open. That openness feels weak. It feels like doubt. But doubt is not weakness, it's calibration. Rational thinkers constantly update, logical thinkers defend. And the more you've publicly committed to a framework, the harder it becomes to revise it, because revision feels like defeat. Strong thinkers don't abandon logic, they upgrade it. They ask themselves, what assumptions am I making here? What would disprove my position? What incentives might distort this situation? What happens if I'm wrong? How costly is it? Am I optimizing to be right or to be accurate? They treat beliefs like hypotheses, not identities. They separate ego from model. And that separation is rare. Being logical makes you articulate. Being rational makes you adaptable. Logic builds elegant explanations. Rationality survives reality. If you sharpen your logic without questioning your premises, you become very good at building beautiful mistakes. And the most dangerous trap of all, believing that because your reasoning is clean, your conclusion must be correct. This was why being logical does.
Thanks for spending time with us. If this sparked a new way of thinking, hit like and subscribe to keep the ideas flowing. And don't forget, check the description for the links to the original books and resources we used today. We'll see you in the next one.